like to introduce myself. I am a licensed immigration advisor, Vandana Rai, and a brief about me and my company and our team. So we are a team of licensed immigration advisors. The company is a New Zealand-based organization. We have our head office here in Auckland, and we do have presence in 8 countries offshore. Trying to give you as much information from as close vicinity as possible. And we are also a New Zealand recognized agency. NZRA, being onshore, could really liaise with education providers and universities and employers, whatever be the case be, to provide services which could lead to your pathways moving much faster, or as fast as possible. Okay, so the thought on having this topic for today's webinar came because we were getting a lot of questions, and we realized at times that the clients were eligible for a pathway to residence much earlier, and they kind of approached us much later and realized that had they been given relevant information, probably they could have met their residence goal much earlier. So here we are today, letting you know what are the pathways available if you're thinking of making New Zealand your home. The aim is again also to make you understand the requirements, so you're very clear, you have realistic expectations, and if you get an opportunity, you immediately identify it and start moving on it. So that is what is the scope or the aim of today's webinar. Just to give you a brief on the various pathways that we will discuss today, and the skilled migrant category residence pathway, it will finish anytime. It will be replaced very soon, later this year. That will be the first thing that we'll cover. Apart from that, we will also cover information on the green list residence pathway, which covers the straight to residence path, the work to residence path, or the highly paid residence pathway, and also the care workforce residence pathway. So and of course, if you are a partner of a person who is applying for residence, or your partner is already a resident, we would also let you know the partnership based pathway towards residence. So that's what we would cover today. Good thing about this pathway is you really don't have to be onshore to be able to apply. Even if you are offshore and if you are meeting the requirement, you can apply for a residence visa under the skilled migrant category. And another thing, if you are onshore, you could be on any temporary entry visa. You could be on a visitor visa, on a work visa, on a student visa, on a partnership-based visa. You could be on any temporary entry visa, and if you're meeting the requirement, you can apply for the skilled migrant category residence visa. Okay, so a brief on what exactly is the skilled migrant category. So it's a point-based system, and currently the points threshold is 180. So if you are meeting 180 points, and if you submit your expression of interest, it's likely to be picked up. So it's a two-way process. If you meet the eligibility, you submit an expression of interest. If your expression of interest meet the requirement, it gets picked up. Immigration would do some preliminary checks on what you've claimed, and if everything is okay, you would be invited to apply, and you can then apply for residence. So that is what it is. So how are the points claimed? I would not go into a lot of details here, but just a brief on what it is. You are given points for a lot of things: your age, your skilled employment, and this is how the points calculator looks like. And if your points are meeting 180 points, which is the threshold, you could then submit your expression of interest in the pool. A little bit more information on how these points are claimed. So you get points for your age. If you can only apply for a skilled migrant category residence visa if you are 55 years or younger. So that's the maximum age that you could apply for, and 30 points is the maximum that you get. And then the second category is that you can claim points for your skilled employment. If the skilled employment could be your current skilled employment. It could also be an offer of skilled employment. So suppose you are offshore and you've been given an offer of employment, and you suddenly realize that if you claim points for this offer of employment, you are meeting 180 points. So you really don't have to come on a work visa and then apply for residence. We've recently applied for residence visa for clients who have moved straight from maybe from a visitor to a residence visa without even having to apply for a work visa. And there have been clients who got an offer of employment, and then they were considering, should we first apply for an accredited employer work visa, or should we straight away apply for residence? And various factors which could be considered here is whether your role will be prioritized. There are certain occupations which are prioritized for residence, and if that is the case and your start date of your employment is a bit flexible, definitely makes sense to come to New Zealand straight on a residence visa. So that's one of the benefits of this category as well. And yeah, so skilled employment you can claim 50 points, and you could also claim bonus points on whether your role is in skill shortage, whether your role is outside Auckland, or whether you've been offered a high remuneration. So you can claim points for your qualifications. So the qualifications must be recognized. It should either be a New Zealand qualification or a qualification recognized by NZQA. Some qualifications are not recognized on face value, and then an international qualification assessment is required. So whatever the case be, you need to claim points for qualifications which are recognized, and you can claim maximum of 70 points. And you also get bonus points if you studied certain qualifications full-time in New Zealand. And then you can also claim points for your partner. If your partner meets the language requirement, has the same level of English as you, so 6.5 bands in IELTS or equivalent is the language proficiency required for a residence visa. So if the partner's language proficiency is also the same, and the partner is working in a skilled employment or has an offer of skilled employment, you can claim points for partner's skilled employment. Or if the partner has a recognized qualification, again there is an option to claim points for partner's qualification. And then there are points you can claim for your work experience. Your work experience must be skilled, and that's a very gray area. At times people don't understand what does that mean. So you should have been qualified for the role before you started working, and the qualification could be you could be considered qualified by way of your qualification or by way of your experience. So yeah, I'm not going into too much detail, but you cannot claim points for any work experience, can only claim points for skilled work experience. You can claim up to 50 points, and the points depends on the duration of the work experience. Can also claim more points if you have 1 year work experience in New Zealand or your role comes in the skill shortage areas. Another thing in this is if you're claiming points for an offshore work experience, then that offshore work experience should have been in a country which is considered to be comparable to New Zealand labor market. So if you are, or the head office of the company that you were working for should be in one of the countries which is considered as comparable to New Zealand labor market. So that's again one gray area which people do not understand at times and can wrongly claim points. So just make sure that you're claiming your points correctly. The green list residence pathway. So last year, immigration has come up with the green list of occupations. And what does that mean is these are the list of occupations which New Zealand requires. These are the skill sets that New Zealand requires. And there are a list of qualifications. If you're working on those, you have a option for a fast track to residence, or there are a list of qualifications. There are a list of occupations. You have a pathway for work to residence. So again, you would need to see what the green list is. What are the occupations listed there? Is your occupation in that green list? And if yes, are you meeting the other requirements? So apart from the occupation, there could be other requirements like the remuneration requirement, or the qualification requirement. So not only should your role be in the green list, but you should also meet the other requirements that are listed along with that occupation in the green list. First thing, the straight to residence. There are some occupations listed on the green list which have a straight to residence path. A lot of doctors, nurses, and other occupations. So I would suggest that have a look at the green list and see. So if that is the case, if you get a job offer, you can straight apply for your residence visa under the green list straight to residence path. Or if you are meeting the requirement and you would first want to come on a work visa, again that is also a possibility. Then there are certain occupations listed on the green list which are on the work to residence pathway. And if you are meeting the requirement there, if your occupation is on the work to residence pathway, then you could start working in that occupation. And as soon as you complete 24 months in that role, then you could apply for your residence visa under the green list work to residence. Teachers are one major group which come under the work to residence pathway. And then let's say if you are a qualified teacher, registered teacher, if you get a job as a registered teacher here in New Zealand, and if you have the registration to work in New Zealand, and you can start working, and as soon as you complete 2 years of work in New Zealand in that occupation, you can then apply for your work to residence. And then the third option is of the highly paid residence. So if you are paid twice the median wage rate, then you can also apply for the highly paid work to residence pathway. So this path is not straight to residence. This is work to residence. So you need to work for 2 years on the twice the median wage rate, and then you can apply for this highly paid residence path. And the fourth option that I'm trying to explain here is the care workforce residence pathway. So if you are a caregiver, you are working on a salary which is a level 4 salary, and if you've been working on the level 4 salary for 2 years, then you can apply for your residence visa. And there are certain other factors in this visa which have to be considered. So you cannot be working on any visa on a level 4 salary. One of the couple, if they get the residence, and I wanted to explain a bit in detail here, is the scenarios where things can work for families. So there are people who are highly skilled, consider New Zealand for the future, and then one of them come to study here in New Zealand. So we've got multiple instances where one of the partners is studying here in New Zealand, and the other partner has a partnership-based work visa which allows them to work, and the moment the partner gets a skill job, the partner can then become the main applicant for residence even while the other partner is studying here in New Zealand. So one myth or one misconception that a lot of you have is that if you're coming to study here in New Zealand, you have to keep moving in steps. Student first, post-study work visa after that, and then comes the residence. And that's not true. If you're coming on a student visa, suppose if you're coming on studying PhD, you have full-time work rights. The moment you get an offer of employment which meets the residence criteria for one of the options, you can straight away apply for residence even while you are studying. Or if your partner is studying and you are on a work visa and you get a job offer which meets the requirement through one of these pathways, again you can be the main applicant when your other partner keeps studying, and you can immediately move from student to residence visa. So don't really have to wait and go on the next step, which is a work, or then go on the next step, which could be the residence. So that's not how it works. I would cover a few questions that we initially got, and you can now start adding your questions in the Q&A box, and I'll start taking your questions after I finish these. And the first question is, I hold a student visa. My partner holds an open work visa and has got a job offer. The role is in tier one list. Can my partner apply for residence visa before I finish my study? Again, yeah. So this must have come from the same person. Yeah. So that is definitely possible. Another thing which I would tell you is, especially when the SMC is still open, if you are meeting the requirement under the tier 1 list, another thing you probably will also need to see is if your role is coming under the priority category. So there are occupations which require registration, and those occupations are prioritized for residents. So that's another thing that you could probably consider on your relocation or on your further path time frames. The second question is an accredited employer work visa need or job offer is sufficient to apply for a residence visa? Okay, so basically, yeah, okay, what that probably I'm trying to understand means is, do I really need to come on an accredited employer work visa and start working, or will the job offer be sufficient to apply for my residence visa? I would say job offer is sufficient for you to apply for your residence visa. Whether you apply for your residence visa with a job offer, or do you start working and get your work visa first, will depend on a lot of other factors. First, if you are offshore or if you are onshore. If you are offshore, will your employer be ready to wait that long? Second, will your role be considered in the priority list? That means what could be the time frames of the residence visa being granted? These are two things. So recently, one of the instances, if I share with you, there was an applicant who came here to New Zealand on a visitor visa to enroll for a CAP program. This program leads to registration with the nursing council eventually. So this person completed the program on a visitor visa, got the nursing registration, had a job offer with the nursing council, and then had two options. First, to apply for an accredited employer work visa and a residence visa together or subsequently, or just wait and apply for residence. And this applicant had a wife, this applicant had 2 kids, and the expenses could have been a bit more if the applicant applied for the work visa first and then residence. And we took a decision on applying for residence straight away. So straight from visitor visa, we did apply for a residence visa, considering that the occupation was in one of the categories which were prioritized. Within 2 weeks, the residence was approved. So that's the best case scenario, where you don't really have to move into a lot of other steps, and if you immediately get the residence, nothing works like that. So another question is, I am in Sri Lanka, can I apply for SMC residence visa? So you could be anywhere, doesn't matter. What really matters is, are you meeting the requirement? Do you have a job offer which makes you eligible under the green list, or for the skilled migrant category, are you meeting 180 points? That's what matters. You could be in New Zealand on any visa, be it a visitor, be it a student, work, or any other, or you could be offshore. Everything is acceptable. Another question there is, I am into healthcare. I have received a job offer with level 5 pay scale. Having completed CAP program, I'm awaiting accredited employer work visa to join the job. Can I apply for residence now itself? Definitely. I think this person means is, I'm getting a level 4 salary. So if you are applying under the healthcare force category, you will have to wait and keep working on the level 4 salary for 2 years. But if you complete the CAP program and you get a job offer as a registered nurse, then you can immediately apply for residence. So yeah, that's what it is. But both, as working as a caregiver has a path to residence, working as a registered nurse definitely has a path to residence. If SMC is going to be discontinued, what are the options for people who want to apply for residence based on skilled work experience? So currently there are other 4 options which we have discussed, and when the residence under the skilled migrant is closed, there would be an alternate path which the minister has conveyed on last week, which would be revealed on the exact details on the alternate path. So definitely with the SMC closing, there would be an alternate path as well. I can see a lot of questions. I can see a lot more questions that I think we would be able to take. So please don't feel bad or don't be disheartened if your question is not taken during this live webinar. I would make sure that the answers are provided to you subsequently. Yeah. So somebody is asking, I've missed the opportunity for the RB21 because I was stuck overseas. Are there other chances? So definitely the other options which I've conveyed now is what you would be eligible for. So you could then consider. What about the study and work visa? Okay, yeah. I wanted to give more details on this. So if you are not meeting the requirement for the residence visa under any of these categories, so you're not meeting under the SMC, don't have a job offer, can't go through the green list, so there is no point waiting. If you think that New Zealand is the country that you would like to relocate in, consider coming and studying here in New Zealand. How that will help is if you're married, one of the partner studies, the other partner gets open work visa. Or if you finish the study, there are courses which will give you 3 years post-study work visa with open work conditions. So getting a job offer here in New Zealand at times could be difficult if you keep trying from offshore. However, if you are in the country with already open work rights, it becomes easier for you to get a skilled job. So if you really want to move to New Zealand, you're not meeting the requirements, you've tried your best, you can't get a job offer, do consider studying in New Zealand for a course which will give you post-study work visa, for a course which, if you are in a relationship, which gives you give partnership based work rights for your partner. So more options for families. So do consider that. Yeah, skilled employment examples. Okay, so skilled employment says under the SMC, they are still relying on ANSCO. So there are occupations which should be on the skill level 1, 2, or 3, or they should be exempt, and then you should meet the qualification needed. So difficult for me to go into a lot of details, but if you think you may have an employment which could be considered skilled, feel free to share those details with us, and we can then let you know whether your employment is skilled or not. Somebody is asking that I have 4 years experience in website development. I'm willing to go on work visa. I have tried to apply, Seek, Indeed, LinkedIn, no luck. Okay, so that's what I was referring to. Sometimes it's difficult for you to get a job from offshore. Do consider studying if you think that meets with your plan as well. Okay, so this question is, I'm on an open work visa which will expire on this August. Anyway, I got a job in supply chain, and then my employer will assist me to have my visa within a month or two when they match my salary to the threshold 29.66. If I apply for a visa on that instance on July 30th, if my visa is still pending till August, okay, so I would advise you on not going too close to your visa expiry. But having said that, if you have applied for a visa and your visa immigration has not processed your application and your current visa expires, you would be getting an interim visa and you can stay lawfully in the country. However, on your interim visa, you will not be allowed to work if that is not on all interim visas. So if you've been on another work visa, you're applying for another work visa, your interim will not give you work rights. So that could probably be difficult for the employer to have somebody with not work rights. And then if there are some concerns on the application, you do not have an option to apply for any other visa while being on an interim visa. So definitely that you could maintain your lawful status, but if a possibility, do consider applying much in advance. So somebody is asking, I've been teaching for 21 years in Fiji. Do you assist in teaching registration? So okay, do get in touch. We'll advise you and we'll guide you on the process. Okay, so I have another question which says, I am a dentist overseas, 50 years. Any possibility? So again, you need to see if you're getting a job offer. If yes, then under which category you would meet the requirement. So yeah, so 50, you have time till 55, but you need to still meet the requirement. Can paid internship be counted in work experience? So work experience has to be skilled work experience. It has to be in a role which is full time. So if you were skilled while you were doing that internship, so I would probably need more information to decide on. But if I can just briefly tell you, you should have work experience should be for skilled work experience and working full time. So I don't know if internship is for full time work or not. Then there is a question that what could be the issue if the experience is long but not relevant to the skill shortages? Okay, so you get points for what you are eligible for. So if your work experience, assessment would have to be done or to see if that is skilled. Were you suitably qualified before you took that? Is your role meeting the requirements? So do get in touch and we will provide. So another thing I wanted to tell you here was I'm not getting into too much details because individual cases we need a lot more information to be able to give you advice. And then do if you think you would need that initial assessment or more clarification, I would suggest click on the link. I'll tell my team to share the link in the chat box so the attendees could click on that, fill in your information, and then we would schedule a call or give you more clarification. A heartfelt thanks to all of you. I can see a lot of interest there, and I assure you that we would take another session probably next week because I can see there is a lot of interest and a lot of you need a lot of clarification, so you could reach and you can then plan your relocation to New Zealand. So we would have another session probably next week, and I'll make sure that all the questions which are not answered here, we do send you the response. Now, please make sure that you click on the link that is provided and submit your the questions or submit your query or click information that will give us all the information that we need to assess your case. Thank you so much once again for attending today's webinar. Take care. Have a nice weekend.